How's it going, guys? It's Abysmal Bloom here, and it's been a solid minute since I last shared with you guys a deck profile. So that's what we're doing today. I'm just going to show you guys what I ended up playing for my OTS championship. This isn't a perfected list, but it did a solid performance. We went X1-1, which unfortunately did not make top cut, but it was really close. Our matchups were Yummy, Mitsurugi Ogadoic, Blue Eyes, and then finally Ryziel Fiendsmith. It is what it is. I didn't have as much practice and preparation with this list because I literally made it right before the event. With that, let me just introduce you guys to my Yummy Mimighoul deck profile. I'll also be showcasing a one-card combo, but basically both engines are easily able to get into the other one. But yeah, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's just jump right on into the deck profile. Starting off with the main deck, this is a 40 card list. I went specifically with 3 copies of Mimighoul Dragon, because this is your bread and butter for the Mimighoul engine. This can search you your field spell, maker, or even room, which honestly is really nice. We play 2 copies of Archfiend. This is literally there just so that you can flip the monster you give the opponent. But on top of that, if it gets flipped, you're able to force the opponent to discard a card and you draw one. So you get a lot of value off of this. Finally, I was on 1 copy of Fairy, and we mainly use it as an extender, but it does have a really solid flip effect of being able to shut down the effects of your opponent's monsters that were special summoned from the hand. It does not stop the special summon, but if they have an effect on summon, that is prevented. So it can be a really solid negate for a lot of matchups. For the actual spells and traps, I was on 2 copies of Dungeon, 2 copies of Maker, and 1 copy of Room. So the only reason why we play Dragon at 3 is because there are situations where the third one will come up. But for the most part, anything that's a once per turn effect at 2 feels solid. So that's why I went with Dungeon at 2, Maker at 2, and Room at 1. The best part about playing the Yummy engine is you're able to OTK the opponent the following turn with the amount of damage you put up. So you really don't need to worry about a second turn. So this ratio was solid. For the Yummy package, I was on 3 copy of Cupsy Yummy. This is the best Yummy monster just because on summon it's able to search for any Yummy card. And if you summon it from the graveyard, you can instead use the effect to draw one. So I've had a situation come up where I gave the opponent an Archfiend, and the opponent tries to special summon something, which lets me use Maker to trigger the effect and flip Archfiend. And that just brought back the Synchro 2's effect to bring back Cupsy Yummy, and that got me a draw 2. And so that sort of stuff really feels solid. On top of that, I play 1 copy of Lollipo and 1 copy of Cookie. These guys are really good for the effects they provide. If I had more copies, I would love to play a second copy of both of them, but this is honestly all the Yummy main deck monsters that I opened. So that's why we only have it at this. If I could, I would totally play 2 more copies of both of them. I then play 1 copy of Yummy Mignon, 1 copy of Yummy Acroque, and then the 1 copy of the Yummy Surprise. Acroque kind of isn't needed. It does give you some fun interactions, but the only field spell you really care about is the Yummy Mint Minion. This guy is basically a monster reborn for your Yummy monsters, and then on top of that he gives the attack boost for them based off of the number of light beast monsters on the field. So this makes your Yummy monsters huge, and yeah, you're able to OTK off of this. The Yummy Mint Acroque, both of its effects have come up, but part of the reason why I don't like it is the effect to bring out a Yummy monster from your deck when your opponent outs one of your monsters isn't ideal with the number of main deck Yummy monsters that I have. So maybe I keep it if I'm playing more Yummy names, but honestly it's not worth it for the 1 brick. Because if you open these guys in your hand, it's not great. And yeah, it is technically a good way to break the board because you get a pop when you synchro summon. Yummy Surprise, on the other hand, this is, in this deck specifically, a 1-up, but the effect to this card's effect is actually really good. It's got 3 solid effects, and you're only able to activate one of the effects once per turn. So if you had multiple copies of Yummy Surprise, or you're able to activate multiple copies, you could potentially go for another effect as well. That's part of the reason why I'm thinking of possibly playing this at 2 going forward. One of the biggest issues for me not playing this right now is I don't have enough Yummy names. Also, because I'm playing another engine, it can kind of conflict because sometimes if I don't get to it, this is straight up a brick. So for now, I'm playing it at 1, but going forward, this might be a 2. Lastly, I was on 2 copies of Unicorn and 1 copy of Birth. Honestly, I didn't know what else to put in because, like I said, I don't have more Yummy names. And I mean, this is Mimighoul. You can always guarantee getting to flip something and trigger stuff. So at worst, Unicorn's always going to rip something from the extra deck. So I played it. It wasn't bad. And honestly, I think I won a game just because I was able to rip important cards from the opponent's extra deck. It's not the reason I won. It was just an additional overbearing piece. So going forward, if you do have stuff, I would recommend maybe putting more Yummy names if you could. Finally, for the non-engine, I went with mostly, I want to say, a board breaker approach, but I wanted to play impactful hand drops. So what I mean by that, I was on 3 copies of Fua, 2 copies of Perulia. I couldn't find my 3rd Perulia, is mainly why I was on 2. I was then on Talents and 2 copies of Thrust. And so this is, again, because we were playing Mimighoul, very easy to trigger even if we're going first. So this never felt like a board breaker per se, but just like an engine piece. I was able to just always trigger the Talents whenever I got it. If I had Thrust, sometimes I'd just use it to search Talents as well and hand rip the opponent. So it was really good. Obviously, always recommend if you're playing Mimighouls. I was then on 3 copies of Droplet. Let me just move that a bit up. And yeah, the Droplet came up. It was solid. When you get your Synchro 2 Yummy monster on the board and you go to the opponent's turn, you let them play out a little bit and you always get just more bodies. You just get super filled. And especially since I was also playing like Cutest or Unicorn, I had situations where my board just could not have more pieces. So being able to actually take advantage of that was really nice with Droplet. Yeah, so going first, this is crazy. Going second, you can just use your cards in hand and it helps with that too. So I was then on 3 copies of Imperm. I don't know if Imperm's that great this format, but I do play it because I was on Double Purge, Double Song. It was like okay-ish hand traps. I don't know if they're the best option to play, but both of the decks don't really care about the restrictions that much. And even Cutest or Unicorn doesn't really care, so just why not play it and see how it does. That's literally what it was. Alright, so the extra deck is probably where you're going to see the most controversy. Starting off, we had 1 Giant Mimighoul. This is just so you can get into your Mimighoul engine. The 1 Ripplebird. And this guy is so that you can always guarantee being able to flip something that you really need to. You only really go into Ripplebird if you didn't get into your open one of your Yummy sides, or you just really want to flip like a Mimighoul monster. This guy's attack boost actually did come up, so there's that. He's also just sometimes nice to end on if you have your Arclight, because in defense position, your opponent cannot attack your monsters, so you can hold on to your Arclight for a bit longer. I was then on 1 copy of Ukatsuno, I can't pronounce its name that great, Uka no Mitsune no Onari. And yeah, this card was, I never actually ended up making it, but in theory it's good, because you're able to reset the Yummy quick play, which is really nice. And also, because I'm also on Forbidden Droplet, I can set that if I really need to after using it. But it's actually kind of hard to make because it specifically needs 2 light monsters, including a beast monster. So I might change the extra deck to facilitate making this easier, or I might actually just cut this out going forward. I played a few Link ones. We had Relinquished Anima, Link Spider, and Gravity Controller. So Link Spider matters if your opponent Nibiru's you. The Relinquished Anima is just a level 1 body, a Link 1 body that you can easily make off of any of your level 1s. which is also like a board breaker, and also just kind of there. I don't know if I want to keep it in there because I honestly never really made it. Lastly, we had gravity controller, and the way I've been using it is either off of putting giant or ripplebird in the extra monster zone. So I usually always have a guarantee of getting another body afterwards. From there, I was on 2 copies of Yummy Snatchy. I would play a third if I could, and then we obviously play 1 copy of each of the Yummy Synchro 2s. Every single one of them, if your opponent does any interaction, you're able to tag them out, and then you can use that to basically trigger your Yummy main deck monsters' additional effects. Cookie is MVP because it has great synergy with also the Mimighoul engine, because you just start Book of Mooning everything the opponent has on the board, and it's like they can't even play. So yeah, Cookie plus the Mimighoul field spell and the Mimighoul engine in general, it's kind of crazy. I was on 1 copy of Martial Metal Marcher, and it's literally there just so that you can revive one of the Yummy names, and sometimes you just need it so that you can make the link one afterwards. The Yummy name that you bring back, its effect is negated, but you can still use it as link material, so that's important. I then had 1 copy of Herald of the Arclight, which really is there so that we can set up a negate before our actual line of play. I was then on 1 copy of Cupid Pitch, and the main thing that I'm using Cupid Pitch to make is Ancient Fairy Dragon. There's a line where we flip a Mimighoul monster on the opponent's board with a Yummy on our side, and that technically gets us enough bodies to make Cupid Pitch into Ancient Fairy Dragon, and then we can use that to switch out the field spell into the Mimighoul field spell if you really need to. And then, it just helps facilitate our lock easy. Finally, for the side deck, this is just to make sure that I have something prepared for every matchup. I had 3 copies of Lancia, 3 copies of Droll, 3 copies of Ash Blossom for when I go first. I played 2 copies of Fenrir as a card that I could use to side out the unicorns as a board breaker and, just help with breaking stuff. I then also had 1 copy of Call by the Grave. And then lastly, we were on the Feather Duster and the Lightning Storm. So here is a 1.5 card combo using Cupsy Yummy. We're going to start off with normal summoning Cupsy Yummy, which is going to add to our hand Yummy Surprise. I can then link this off for the Yummy Snatchy, which is going to place directly the field spell, which is going to be the Yummy Mint Minion. From here, we can then proceed to use Minion's effect to bring back Cupsy Yummy, and then I can use that to Synchro 2 using both of these for Cupsy Yummy Way, which on summon is going to add to our hand 2 and then discard 1. So I'm going to add Lolipo and the Cookie, and then we're going to discard our Song of the Dominators here. It doesn't matter, just one that is not these. From here, we're going to actually just summon both of these out, because while we have Yummy Surprise in our hand, we're basically able to play through Nibiru, like it's not an issue. So just we'll do this now. From here, I'm going to Synchro 3 using both of these for the Metal Marsher, and I'm going to place it specifically in the extra monster zone, just so that we can play around Bestials or DD Crow. So Metal Marcher is going to trigger to bring back Cupsy Yummy Way. And then finally from here, we're going to Synchro 4 into our Herald of the Arclight. From here, I'm going to take this and link 1 into our second Yummy Snatchy, and then we're going to use Yummy Surprise to revive a level 1 Yummy monster. I'm going to then Synchro 2 into our Lolipo Yummy Way, which on summon is going to trigger to revive back 2 Yummy monsters. So specifically, you want to revive back any 2 level 1s, because this is how we're going to bridge into the Mimighoul engine. So we're just going to bring out these 2, and then I'm going to overlay both of these in the extra monster zone for Giant Mimighoul, which on summon is going to add to us the Mimighoul Maker. Now, regardless of how this plays out, we're always going to be able to get access to Mimighoul Room, which is the important interaction that we're trying to get off of this. So starting off, we're going to activate Maker, which is going to reveal Dragon and the Archfiend. So as I mentioned before, if we get Dragon on our side, this is immediately going to get us access to Room, which is all we care about. But let's say we get the Archfiend and the opponent gets the Dragon. From here, what's going to happen is we're going to get Archfiend's effect to flip Dragon. And now Dragon is going to trigger, and that is a monster on the opponent's side of the board that is activating an effect. So we can use Lolipo Yummy Way here, put it back into our extra deck, and we're going to revive from the graveyard, specifically Cupsy, Yummy Way, and any of the level 1s that are remaining. In my case, this is Cupsy, but it's going to depend on what specifically you used as the material under Giant. So that's going to summon back, and then on resolution of this, Dragon's also going to blow up their board and come back to our side. Now that we've done this, we're actually going to take this body and synchro 4 directly into Cupid Pitch. And since we used a level 2 and 2 level 1 names, this is going to become level 6. From there, we're going to synchro 7 into our Ancient Fairy Dragon, and we're going to burn the opponent for 700. So I don't have a good idea of what to search off of Ancient Fairy Dragon, but for the time being, if you really just want to make sure that you get something, the Mulch Hummies are all 600 defense, so we can just add that. But yeah, I like I said, I didn't have much time to test with it, so if you guys have a better target for this, be my guest and just let me know. But yeah, from here, we've burned the opponent for 700. And again, if we hit the other way, we still have Giant Mimighoul's effect to burn the opponent. So we're never losing in time, which is kind of crazy to think about. But from here, we're going to use Ancient Fairy Dragon's effect to pop the field spell, so we can also gain 1000 life points. And that's going to get us our Mimighoul Dungeon. We're going to then activate Dungeon, and then use Dungeon's effect to add back to our hand Mimighoul Dragon from the graveyard. And then we can use Ancient Fairy Dragon's effect to summon the dragon from our hand. Now that dragon has triggered on our side, we can use it to again just search for room. So we can set the room here, and then we can also just make sure to end on a yummy name. So I'm going to link 1 for Gravity Controller, and then we're going to synchro 2 for the Lolipo Yummy Way again. So that's something to consider. Alternatively, if you want to be safer here, one thing you can do, which also just clears up the board so you have more space for names, is you can synchro 2 with both of these into the Ukonomatsune no Onari, which can then reset your Yummy Surprise. So that's the only nice benefit. You can clear up the board a little bit more. But with that being said, it's not great because you are taking rid of your Lolipo Yummy Way, which is a live Yummy. So that's another part of the combo that I want to figure out. I'm just trying to find a way to possibly end on another Light Beast and Ancient Fairy Dragon and leave the Lolipo Yummy Way as is. So that's some more cooking that I need to do for the deck, but we can end on basically this, and then on the opponent's turn at some point, if the opponent tries to, even attack us, or for that example, we have the Mimighoul Room, which can Book of Moon the opponent, give them a dragon or archfiend based off of what we want, and that itself is already a attack lock, so our Arclight is always protected there. And then in this situation that we don't have Arclight, we're just Book of Mooning everything the opponent does anyways. So Arclight's usually in a good spot. From there, we also have the Maker in the graveyard. Don't forget about this, because this is a really solid interaction. Because you've given the opponent a dragon or an archfiend, you can either choose to hand rip the opponent for 1 and draw 1, or just blow up whatever they summon, so that's also relevant. And then I also did mention the fairy. In the case that you do end up giving the opponent that, it also just prevents their special summon monsters from the hand from activating their effects. So, that's all relevant in that aspect. The most important thing to really note about the Yummy deck is you always want to try and get your Yummy names in the graveyard in rotation. And then obviously you want either access to a Link 1 and a Level 1 on board, or a Synchro 2 with your Yummy names in the graveyard. That's really what you're looking for, just to get the best amount of interactions from the Yummy package. At some point, if your opponent just interacts with you, you end up making Cookie Yummy Wave, which again is an additional Book of Moon for 2. So you've got basically 1, 2, 3 Book of Moons on the opponent. And if they keep on trying to play, you also have the Pop from Cookie Yummy Wave, a Shuffle or Banish from Lolipo Yummy Wave when you revive it, and then obviously you have the Cupsy Yummy Wave, Cupsy Yummy for draws. You just have so much interaction. So that's, I think, about everything I can think about for telling you guys for my initial building with the deck. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is a deck that's a work in progress. And yeah, we went into the tournament with a deck like that, but honestly, this did really solid for what I came prepared for. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to leave that like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!